Hey everyone. I've gotten a lot of interest in my videos around how to use these really inexpensive IKEA Symfonisk speakers as a way to connect a powered sub to your Sonos system. And one thing I got the most questions on was how to do this for a home theater setup. And I answered a lot of those in the comments, but I really wanted to do a bunch of tests. So this is my home theater setup. I have a Playbar, and then I have a pair of Play 3s, and then I also have the Sonos sub, which is really great. And I love this system. It's fantastic. It's very unobtrusive, and it's also very expensive. And if you go to the Sonos website and you try to put together the least expensive home theater setup you can get, you're going to end up with a Beam, a pair of these essentially stripped down Play 1s, and the sub. But all told, that's still going to set you back $1,500, which is pretty steep. And I get why people want to do this for less money. To be fair, if you buy everything at once, Sonos will give you a small discount. So you can save $97 off that package price on the low-end system. And on my whole hog system, you save $126. Thanks, Sonos. So in this video, we're going to look at some different ways to achieve the same effect for much less money. So to get this to work for home theater, we have to figure out how we're going to make Sonos use our active subwoofer. And so I've been kicking around a couple ideas. And so we'll walk through the first one here, which is essentially, just set up a regular old Sonos room that has whatever sort of soundbar you want. Could be the Playbar, could be the Beam, whatever you want for rear channels, but you don't have a sub there. And then what you could do is you could take a Symfonisk speaker, basically disconnect the woofer and tweeter, and just use the woofer wire as a way to provide a signal to the sub. And then you could link these two rooms together and you'd have a pretty good setup. And by replacing that really expensive Sonos sub with a very inexpensive Symfonisk speaker and a cheapo powered sub, we're coming in below $1,000, which is great. But really, I think the ideal thing would be to use either a Playbar or Beam, a pair of Symfoniks, and just hook a sub right up to those, right? No extra hassles, no extra work. And if we could do that, that would be only $700 for a full Dolby Digital 5.1 system that's on Sonos. So what I wanted to do with this video is really dig in and see what the pros and cons are of these two setups and to see which one is the best to use if you want to get into the Sonos world for much less money. So to get started, there's two things you're going to need. First of all, you need a subwoofer. So this can be any brand, any size. All that matters is that it's powered, which means it has its own internal amplifier. The other thing that the sub needs are these high-level or speaker inputs. And so these will accept amplified signals rather than a traditional RCA kind of signal. And the second half of the equation is our modified Symfonisk speaker. And I have a bunch of videos that go into depth on how to do this, but essentially you take the front panel off so you can access the wire that connects the amplifier to the woofer. And you just want to attach another pair of wires so that you can drill two holes, attach some binding posts, and make it easy to access those wires from the outside of the speaker. You can see how I did that on these here. I also created a set of binding posts to access the tweeter amplifiers, but you don't really have to do that for this project. You could just stick with accessing the woofer. All right, so now we're ready to start testing. So let's start off with the simplest approach. So this is a Playbar or Beam with a set of Symfonisk rear speakers. And from one or both of those rear speakers, we're going to grab the woofer output and plug that into our powered sub. All right, so the big question here really is, do rear channel speakers in a surround sound setup have any bass? I'm used to seeing really small surround sound speakers, so my guess would be no. And that's been my thought all along, that, it's probably not even worth doing this because surround sound speakers will not have bass. So what I did anyway is I disconnected the Play 3s. I set up the Symfoniks as my rear speakers. It's a very simple process that you can do in the app. You just choose which speaker is the left and the right, and you're ready to go. And once you've set these up, if you look in the app, they'll show up as the left and right rear surround speakers, and then you'll have whatever front speaker you have, whether it's the Beam or Playbar. And the last step was connecting the Symfonic to the powered sub. So once that's all set up, we're ready to test. So I figured I'd start off easy by testing music because I expect the sound to come out of all of the channels equally when it's set that way in the app. So I fired up this song by Tyler, the Creator, turned it up really loud, and you can see the sub is going crazy and everything's shaking around. So that works great. Next, I wanted to test out how this setup would work with a movie. So I popped open iTunes Store, started looking at trailers, and the first one I randomly picked was this James Bond trailer, and I was completely shocked. I was greeted with tons of bass. You can see it really going crazy at certain points in this trailer, and it just didn't even seem possible. So, what this was telling me is that it was actually sending all this low-end information to the rear channels. I was thinking this maybe was just a fluke. Maybe that was because it was a trailer and not a real movie. So I started going through my movie library, and, this is an example here of John Wick, and the same result. Tons and tons of bass, super deep bass coming out of that sub that was attached to the surrounds. So it just seems like a surprising amount of bass is being directed there, which makes this a completely viable way of doing it. So the next thing I did is I started going through the movies pretty methodically. So I would be listening to them with the sub, but I also had the Sonos sub still attached, and I would be flipping this switch on and off to compare, is there completely different bass information in one movie or another. And as far as I could tell, things lined up really nicely. Now, each movie is going to be a little different, so some may mix things to not have as much bass in the surround sound, but the movies I tested, and there was a pretty wide range, all had really good low-end response. So I'm not too worried about it. The only quirky thing, in fact, is in Black Panther, there's one point where there's a song playing, and you only hear the bass line and drums for it if you have the Sonos sub on. If you turn it off, you don't hear it all for the sub coming out of the surrounds. So that was one really quirky example where the mix was dramatically different. Oddly, when I retested it later with the Sonos sub completely removed, there seemed to be more bass in the rear channels, so maybe this was just a weird quirk. So the dark horse option of connecting your sub to your surround sound speakers surprisingly panned out. But could we make it better? Could we try this other technique where we essentially use a symphonic speaker as a gateway and really link two different rooms together in the app? So for this experiment, I need to reconnect the Play 3s as the surround sound speakers. And then next, we're going to have a single symphonic speaker that's hooked up to our active sub. And so that's going to be essentially just acting as a silent gateway, meaning we don't want the speakers inside it to be playing. So on my speaker, I have these switches that allow me to turn off the woofer and tweeter, but you can simply disconnect the drivers inside the cabinet, and I'd suggest wrapping each wire separately in electrical tape to make sure there's no short circuits. And to make this all work, we just have to open up the app, find our living room, and group that with the symphonic speaker, and now they'll work together. So if we fire up a movie, you'll see everything works perfectly fine here, so that's all to be expected. But there are two known downsides here. The first one being lag. So When you are using Sonos and you're grouping a home theater room with another room, there's actually a small amount of delay introduced. I listened to it on a lot of movies, and I tried John Wick because I figured you'd hear the gunshots and really be able to feel it. And, honestly, I think this isn't really much of an issue unless you are really, really, really picky. The second issue, however, I think is pretty serious. So when you're using volume controls in the app, you'll see that if you set a certain ratio between two rooms and you drag the main volume handle, the ratios will be maintained as you slide the volume. However, if you're using a physical remote control like I am for my Apple TV, you'll notice that when I use the up and down volume stepper there, it only changes the volume of the room, not everything that's grouped to it. So this basically means that your base volume and your room volume are going to always be out of sync unless you either force yourself to always use the app or you open the app and keep fiddling with the ratios if you mess it up with the remote control. I think this is a huge problem because it's never going to sound very good. I want to be able to set it and forget it. So for this reason, I don't recommend the grouped room approach, but luckily the simpler solution is completely workable. So definitely go ahead with just using the Symfonisk as your rear channel, hooking up a powered sub, and you'll just enjoy the convenience and everything will sound fantastic. I've been using this setup as my main home theater for the last week or two, and I'm really happy. So the next thing I wanted to touch on is Trueplay, because I get a million questions about how this should work. I went through and tested it lots and lots of different ways, and I have a really simple answer for you. When you do Trueplay, shut your sub off. Now this may seem counterintuitive at first, but as I've thought about it, I think I know what's going on. So Trueplay is trying to end up with a flat curve, right? So every frequency was equally represented. So during calibration, Trueplay sends out test tone sweeps and listens for what comes back. Since the Symfonisk is such a small speaker, the low end is naturally going to roll off. So to compensate for that, it will say we need to boost the lowest frequencies so that we end up with a flat response. So this correction response that emphasizes the lowest frequencies is exactly what we want to send to our subwoofer. So you can see the opposite would be the case if we calibrated with the sub turned up fairly high. Trueplay would hear that there's lots and lots of bass, probably too much, and it would attenuate that by saying we need to make the lowest frequencies quieter. So that's why I think you should leave your sub off during calibration. And one last small tip. Once you get everything dialed in and you're making micro adjustments to the bass levels, I found the surround level slider can be really helpful. So if you're watching a movie, you can use that slider to just make the sub a little bit quieter or louder. Yes, it updates the surrounds too, but it's mostly going to impact the bass. So I think that's it. I just want to thank everyone for all their questions and comments. I really feel like I learned a lot in this video, and I'm really happy to find out that the least expensive way works perfectly. So just shut your sub off during calibration and enjoy having a very inexpensive Sonos home theater system. I can't wait to see what you all cook up. Thanks for watching.